now because we're missing far too many good bits.
Hmm.
Welcome, Tara Love Perry. It's a real pleasure for me to have you on today because this is exactly what we need. People to begin to fall in love with themselves again. Because as a child, you tend to love yourself unless you've had an abused childhood. But a child, I watch children at the school at 2 and 3 years old who just hug each other at kindergarten, just hug each other. Doesn't matter color, race, language, nothing at all. And it's very important that we learn to love ourselves. And I've been looking forward to this conversation all week because I get super excited about talking to people who've helped people to understand what it is to love yourself and trust yourself. So welcome, Tara. Maybe you can tell us a bit about what you're doing and who you are and where you've come from and where we're going.
Alrighty. Well, thanks, Charlie, for having me. It's super great to connect with you and with all your wonderful viewers. And as I just said, I've been following you since last year. And so it's, team love, isn't it? And I love hearing you mentioning self-love. You've done it quite a lot of times. And self-love wasn't something that was natural to me. I grew up in a very spiritual community, actually. I've always had all this information that's coming out now about what goes on, in the shadowy areas of life and the world and the powers that be. My dad kind of illuminated me to all of this from a very early age and was reading me, Edgar Cayce prophecies and all of these things about the thousand years of peace that we will be experiencing, that we will come to in this lifetime. And I grew up with an enlightened master as well, very much always pointing the way back to the heart, back to love. And so this was my environment. And yet I grew up with a lot of deep insecurities and very, very low self-esteem. And I put myself in some really bad situations, got myself mixed up with people that were very destructive. And I was very self-destructive. And I really was, I even didn't want to be alive. From the age of 13, 14, I was destructive to myself and I was suicidal and just didn't want to be on this planet, Charlie. I was very sensitive and I was experiencing as a lot of sensitive, I believe we're all sensitive actually, and sensitive in our nature as children. And we're very pure, like you were saying, the little ones in the play school, very pure, but we feel everything. And I was picking up on all the disharmony. There was all this nice, everything's love and everything's beautiful, but there was all this hidden stuff going on underneath that no one really talked about. And it was hidden even from themselves. Mm-hmm. And as a little person, I was very aware of that. And I was very tapped into the pain on the planet and just didn't want to be here. And I think a lot of people, especially star seeds, will completely relate to that and just go, yep. Or if you remember being a sensitive kid, you just go, there's something wrong here. Mm-hmm. And you might not be able to put your finger on it. Everything looks good or everything looks like it's okay, but it's not. And I really struggled with that. But essentially, I grew up very psychic. I had all of these sensitivities remained intact. And I didn't even realize that until my late 20s. I didn't realize I was just, the weirdo that was seeing and feeling all of these things. And everyone was like, yeah, right, whatever, Tara. And it wasn't until I was validated by somebody who could actually see me and understand what I was experiencing that then I realized, okay, this is real. I'm not deluding myself. Mm-hmm. Everyone always said, Tara, get with the real world, And for me, this was real, but no one else could share in it. And I think that's really important as well to understand, Charlie, is that journey to self-trust, despite what everyone else may be telling you about what their version of reality is, it can really mess you up because if your compass is saying, no, this is north, and someone else is saying, no, your north is actually south. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're going to think you're going crazy. You're going to think there's something wrong with you. And you will go on that self-destructive journey and you won't trust yourself and you'll put yourself in harm's way, trusting everybody else. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go through that journey myself from a teenager all the way through my 20s and 30s to really learn to trust myself. And it was only when I was doing my readings with people, I do this thing called soul reading, where I literally see people before they came into this body, what happened in their conception, what they're bringing from previous incarnations, what they're carrying in their DNA, their spirit body, their subconscious, their unconscious mind. It's like, it's all there for me. It's just something I tap into, and all the memories of everything. And it was only through reading people for many years, I realized there was one single common denominator that was causing the dysfunction and the disharmony in every single person.
Mm-hmm.
And that one thing was that a person did not feel unconditionally loved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, for some people, that might be just like, nah, you know. But actually, if you think about it, our motivations for every single thing we do is actually to get approval,
Yep.
to get love, to get somebody's validation, for somebody to see who we really are, for someone to really listen to us 100%, for that unconditional loving presence, no judgment, that we are absolutely loved completely for all that we are, warts and all, shadow, light, good, bad, right, wrong, all of it, that we are absolutely unconditionally loved. And I feel like that's why people go to God or go to religion, because they experience that, or hopefully they experience that, to feel that unconditional love coming from somewhere, because we didn't get it from our parents, we don't get it from society. Even the best, most loving parents, their version of love is conditioned. So what they put on, they were loved conditionally, so they end up loving us conditionally without meaning to. And it's a mess. But really, that's all we want. So, you know, like Khalil Gibran, I love this quote, Charlie. It says, and God said, love thy enemy. And so I obeyed him and loved myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, that's the epitome of this whole battle right now. And I know you talk about it, Simon, they all talk about it, this battle between good and evil, light and dark. And it's very clear to me, as I'm sure it's clear to many of us, that battle is happening internally. That's our own light and dark battle, that we are not able to unconditionally love all that we are. And we struggle with that and we don't know how. And it gets very difficult. And therefore, because we live in this holographic reality, this holographic universe, what we are, what we experience ourselves to be, we project onto this screen of reality. And therefore, we end up fighting what's in front of us instead of addressing what's inside of us and loving it.
Do you know what? When you were talking there, there's such a beauty shining through from you. And I think about the women of this in their 20s and 30s nowadays, who their answer to self-love is to get Botox and fillers and boob jobs and bum jobs. And they've missed the point, because beauty comes from within. You have to love what's inside, and then it shines out. I've often mentioned about my wife. When I met my wife 10 years ago, nobody ever noticed her, and yet she was a performer. She was out performing, dancing, and in cabaret and all the rest of it. But she was very cold, kept herself to herself. And the minute I started dating her, she said, it's very strange. Since I've dated you, everyone notices me. And I said, well, you were always a rose. When I first met you, you were a rose. All I did was water you. All I did was love you. And then as I loved you, you just opened right up. And a rose just opens up. It looks very different when it's closed down, but it's the same rose. And I think that when you learn to love yourself, you can see people who love themselves without being arrogant and cocky, because that's equally as bad if you get too much self-love. You need to love with a pure heart. And this goes back to what I keep saying about resetting your moral compass. We discussed earlier about certain people whose compasses, they think they're accurate and they're just not. Just because their environment is the same people. They live in an echo chamber. So they believe everything that keeps bouncing back. And you need to step out of your echo chamber, and you need to listen to other people's opinion. But when it comes to resetting your compass, because I believe in God, I can just ask God to help me. If you believe in Allah, you can ask him. But if you don't, you need somebody, and generally an older person, generally a woman, generally, not always, but generally, somebody who can teach you right from wrong. That's how you reset your moral compass, understanding what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, so that you can make a judgment and empower yourself. And when you empower yourself, You'll fall in love with yourself because you'll be making decisions for yourself. You won't be trusting Charlie Ward. You'll be trusting yourself. And it's so empowering.
I think love and empowerment are the same thing, Charlie. And if I may just talk about love for a moment, because people say, oh, self-love, that's selfish, that's egotistical, that's narcissistic. That's not actually love. We've labeled something love, which isn't, you know, because people get very confused about what love is. And that's because they're a long way from home. They've got lost. They've been in a world that has hurt them and scared them and made them, you know, forget, taken them a long way away from what's really love. Love loves everything. Actual real love doesn't care if you're black or white, good or bad, right or wrong. Love loves everything. And so for us to understand that our true nature from birth, from a little baby, is pure unconditional love, absolutely pure, until the conditioning kicks in and all that stuff kicks in, and the environment kicks in. We're pure unconditional love. And we can't discern at that innocent age what's right for us and what isn't right for us, what hurts us and what doesn't hurt us. We just love it all. We love our abusers equally as we love those that are good to us, because we're pure. Now, the journey of unconditional love is to come from that place of innocence and knowing that every single human being's heart has that pure unconditional love within them, every single person. If they're far away from it and they've forgotten, or it's got completely dark and clouded and they can't see it, that's one thing. Right? Some people are really in distress and very far from love, and actually veering into the territory of anti-life and anti-love and subversive, destructive, very destructive behavior, because they're so far from their own innocence, from their own truth, from their own source, which is unconditional love. They've got very lost, those souls. And I feel a lot of compassion for those souls, Charlie, because they're really stuffed. They're really in a dark place, and their soul, just like all other souls, needs love to know who they truly are. But we can grow in this. We can grow up and find our way back and trust our own heart. If we begin to listen to ourselves, listen to our own heart, actually see ourselves, clean the judgment out of the eyes, and be able to see who we really are, then we can really forgive ourselves for all the things we thought we had to do and all the things we thought we were or thought we weren't, and we can forgive ourselves. And that's like taking a cleaning cloth to the windscreen or to the glasses on the eyes and just cleaning up so you can actually see who you really are. And part of that journey is being able to really acknowledge, love and forgive those parts of us that we absolutely hate, that we're terrified of anybody else seeing, where we don't trust ourselves, where we think we're bad or we deserve bad stuff, or our own inner demons, you know. And there's a lot of people very much personifying the demonic energy on this planet, personifying the intense lack of love to the extreme where they're insipid, you know, it's insidious. And yet we have parts of us are like that. Those places we have not shone the light, we have not loved, because we've judged it bad. And of course, if you judge something bad, Charlie, and you don't give it light, love, water, like your beautiful Rose wife, you don't give her the water of love, she's gonna, that bud won't open, it will shrivel and it will go dark.
Yes.
And it will get hidden and it will get scared and it will start mutating in the darkness and thinking terrible things about itself. And we have parts of us like that have got locked away in these little cupboards, and we want to keep those cupboard doors shut and not go there and go, no, I'm, you know, real, to me, real self-love and real self-knowing, self-realization, to know who you are, is to actually begin to open those little doors and go, you know what, I'm going to let this part of me, this inner child, or this part of me that I judged was bad or other people judged was wrong, out of the cupboard, and I'm going to love this part of me back into life again. Because if we treat children badly, we know that's bad, but we treat ourselves badly, but we continue to do it. And it's like, can we actually love and heal ourselves? Because when we do, can you imagine what the world would look like? As more people realize, hold on, what if my demons are in here? And what if my demons are in here? And I go and face my own demons, not to slay them, but actually to love them back home again, back into wholeness, not separation.
Mm-hmm.
Separation, you can create division in separation, you create wars in separation, and the wars are still carrying on, they're not ending. It's like, okay, what ends a war? Unity, peace. Come into unity with the self, come into peace with the self. Then you realize who you are. Then you're trusting yourself. Then you're in your power. Then you're unstoppable. Nothing can stop a person who's truly being who they truly are, and therefore naturally in their power. Nothing stops that.
No. And it's very, very powerful. And when people understand, because you and I both know there are many, many, many single women out there that are very, very beautiful. I know loads of them. And they haven't learned to love themselves from the inside out. They're doing it the wrong way around. They're doing it from the outside in. And that doesn't work because it only lasts for a period of time.
I would say that's everyone, Charlie, to greater or lesser degrees, or not women, but men too. We see it everywhere.
Yeah,
and
we do.
But it's like wearing a mask, isn't it?
It is.
And it's not, and I don't say this with any judgment. You know, I dye my hair, I wear makeup. It's not that I think people shouldn't, you know, want to beautify themselves or enhance themselves or go to the gym or, you know, whatever, Charlie. We want to, you know, we want to respect and honor and cherish ourselves in a really healthy way. But to fundamentally do something that makes us think that we will look better, it's like putting on a mask.
It is.
And actually we're just hurting ourselves, because we know, even if we fool everybody else, that the mask is real and this is the true us. We're only hurting ourselves underneath, going, I know that I'm not being real.
Yeah.
We're lying to ourselves, and then we're in conflict, and then we're vulnerable and susceptible to other people's, you know, swaying us and manipulating us, because we're fundamentally in fear. And when we have that fear and we're hiding behind a mask, we're hiding behind that veneer, we're very susceptible, we're very vulnerable to other people manipulating us.
I've got a number of friends of mine that are in the modeling business, male and female, who are massively insecure because they relied on their looks for so long and haven't connected with who they really are and loved who they are. And there are certain models that I know that have actually connected with who they are and become far more beautiful because of that, because they understand who they are. And one of them, I was trying to get her on my show the other day, and she was like, no, I can't do that. And I get it. But these people, when they've connected with themselves inside, it's a journey, but it's going back to where we started from.
Yeah, you're
it's
right.
in there. It's in there.
You're totally right. And often going back to where we started from means going back from all the things we ran away from in the first place. And it means going back and facing them, and not to re-traumatize, but to say, okay, I surrender. I'm not going to fight with you. I'm not going to run. I need to love you. I need to make peace. And this, you're right, Charlie, people don't know how to do that. It's not widely taught. In fact, we could look to Jesus, who said, love your enemy. He was love. He loved himself, because when you love yourself, you love literally everything and everybody. There's no separation, because love does not separate. So when you love yourself, you're in that, you know, evolved state of being. And I really believe, Charlie, that where we are right now in this point in history, in this point of humanity, is we are on this cusp. We are in this amazing opportunity to actually evolve, which is to go, oh my goodness, I am the source. I am everything I need. I am the power I'm looking for. I need to trust myself. I'm the love I'm looking for. And have that quantum shift that I was talking about, like your inner technology going through a quantum shift, so that then everything that we create going forward for the new earth, for the, you know, the light bearers building back better, for the you know, the peace angels and peace warriors on this planet, is like, when we upgrade that inner technology in ourselves and be more Jesus, to be fair, you know, love our enemy and love ourselves, then we can love all. And I don't mean in a fluffy or romantic or pandering way. I mean it in a super God kind of powerful, blasting through the darkness kind of a way, and evolving humanity. And I think we're right there. And it's just like, you know, the potential is right in our hand. And I really, you know, I want a world with more love in it, Charlie. with more peace for our children, for the future generations. And so that's really my biggest motivation that makes me go out there and share this every day. It's like, if you don't know how, I've actually got some keys, guys, and it's really simple, but it's also really challenging, because you are going to have to go and face the things that you ran away from, and be brave and be a warrior. And if you don't know how, I can show you how.
Exactly. And one thing that's happening right now, especially on social media, and this is where I get super excited, it's the opportunity to love the trolls, because they can't handle it. They can't handle love. They just want hate. They're trying to create hate. They're trying to create trouble. If you love them, they don't know what to do.
No,
they run away.
Yeah.
And those people who attack the trolls, you're just playing right into their hands. Whereas if you love them, right from the start, Tara, I decided not to read any comments, whether they're positive or negative, because we've got a team. We've now got around 50 people working behind the scenes full time on our website and what we're doing. And we've got a couple of people, including Tara, who's my PA. She goes through the comments, and if there's anything that I should know, she'll let me know. But you get these trolls out there, and most of the time they're bots. They're not even real. Yeah. But on the odd occasion that they are real, these are just very, very sad, lonely people that don't have a life. Because I've said many, many times, if you want to disagree with me, I don't have a problem. But let's talk about it like humans. And you put your side to me, and I'll put my side to you. As I said many times about my house here, as I look at the Mediterranean Sea, I get a certain perspective. Now, if you're a diver from 10 meters down, you get a completely different perspective of the same body of water. The skill set is for me to listen to you, your perception of it, and you to listen to me, my perception, which both happen to be right, but we have different perceptions. And I think I'm more than willing to talk with anybody, and I love talking to people. I love talking to people. When people just troll you, and you throw back love at them, they disappear in a hurry because they just don't like love.
Well, they're looking for a fight, aren't they? And if you don't want to fight them, if you're like, no, mate, I'm good.
Exactly. I'm really happy. It is. And I'm going to put the link in down below for Tara's website, because it's got a lot of stuff on there that you can connect with her and your book. I love you, me, as in loving the individual, loving yourself, and how to love yourself. It's very, very constructive. Self-love club, love club, and there's training sessions and events, and you work in Bali, you work in Dubai, and these are all, I lived in Dubai. I was a resident for 15 years, but there's many people there that could benefit from a little bit of self-love. But there is every single place. And once you start to love yourself, you will love life. And when you love life, fear disappears. You don't buy into the narrative.
That's absolutely true.
And
reality changes, reality changes, Charlie, because when you see through the eyes of, realized stuff, or even just, a beginning, it's like cleaning up. Like I said, it's like cleaning the windscreen on your car, so your reality looks different. It doesn't look so shit, doesn't look so dark, doesn't look so doomed, doesn't look so scary because you can't see where you're going. You clean up, and that cleaning is the self-love, the self-forgiveness, going the self-gratitude, and all these beautiful things. Very simple, but absolutely profound when you put these things together and go through the steps as I lay out very clearly in my book and in all my programs. But it's like, when you do that, life looks totally different. And this is what I keep sharing with my viewers, is like, this is new earth. And some people talk about fifth dimension, all that stuff. Fifth dimension, really, what they're talking about is the frequency of unconditional love.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's what dimension is. It's the angelic frequency. It's the angelic dimension. And Charlie, when I'm seeing people's energy field and seeing their soul, every single person, just like we have a mental body and an emotional body and a physical body, we have an angelic body.
Yeah.
And much like our mental body, you don't see your mental body. It's out here somewhere.
Yeah.
The energy field that comes off your mind. And it's like where there's many beliefs and thoughts and everything stored in that energy field. It's a library, it's a database. And everybody has an angelic field out here somewhere. everybody. And so we can all embody and own our angelic self. And a lot of people will relate to this because you know that there's a part of you that's a total angel. You were as a child, you were as a baby. Some of us relate to angels and feel safe in that angelic energy, or ask for the angels, or ask for God. And actually, that's a part of who we are capable of being if we were to just understand it, realize it, and then embody it. And that comes really through loving everything. You start to embody your angelic energy field, or your fifth dimensional energy field, or your new earth frequency, whatever you want to call it, that new paradigm that everyone's talking about. And when you're in that place, you're on the same earth, like you said, you've got the same ocean. I look at the Mediterranean just there. And your view of the Mediterranean is different to my view of the Mediterranean, right? And the diver's version is different to our version. So it's the same ocean, like it's the same world, same exact world, same stuff going on. But when you're in that place of unconditional love, or even just beginning the journey, it starts to change so that you start to see the world through totally different eyes. And what you're seeing then is a reflection of who you are. More love, more peace, more harmony. Things start coming online, things start coming on track, everything starts working out. There's not so much against you. It's not so scary. It's not like you're seeing your enemies everywhere. You start to have people collaborating with you, like you are, Charlie, with your team. Everyone says, you know what, I want to be part of that. I want to be part of what you're doing. And everything starts to work. And then we can come together, not hate each other and troll on each other and judge each other. Because even people that are going, I'm a light being, they're still judging everyone else, going, well, you're not.
Exactly.
What's that all about? That's not love.
Well, this has been one of the most fun times of my life, because I call them plastic patriots, the ones that were pretending on the journey that they were on the side, the positive side, the light side, and then suddenly one thing goes wrong and suddenly they turn dark in a hurry. That's not to say that there's not good and evil in every single person. I have dark places inside me. I just need to manage them. I've been to some dark places in my life. None more so than when I lost my firstborn son. Thereafter, I visited some very dark spaces, and it's not easy. But what you need to understand is where the darkness is and where the light is. And I used to say that, you have a good parrot on one shoulder and a bad parrot on the other, just to keep it simple so you understand it. And the bad parrot saying, Charlie, stay for one more drink. The good parrot saying, no, it's time he went home. It's time he went home. And we all know that feeling. We all know that feeling. It's what we surrender to and who we become. And when you empower yourself to make decisions, when you make good decisions, it makes you feel so good inside. And when you make bad decisions, it's a bit like a hangover. You just wish it would go away, and you knew what you were doing, but you just couldn't help yourself. And
well, that's conditioning, Charlie, isn't it? Because we've all been through hell and high water in one version or another, right? You've been there, I've been there, lots of people, because we're basically so conditioned, all of us, by our ancestors, by our parents. There's been dark stuff happening on this planet for so long. It's conditioned into us, and people afraid of feeling, people afraid of saying their real truth, people of being who they truly are. All of that stuff has been buried for generation after generation. There's been wars every generation, and all of that stuff has largely been suppressed and not brought into the light, not brought back into peace and harmony. And so each one of us, as we're born, we carry all the conditioning from the previous generation that was never sorted out, right? So us now, we're so overburdened with all of this stuff, this baggage that wasn't brought into harmony, that wasn't healed, that wasn't transformed, that wasn't enlightened. And it's like, we've got a big job to do. We do carry, a lot of us, we carry a lot of responsibility for a lot of our ancestors and our generations. But that's also the magic, because you go, well, you're alive now and I'm alive now, and all your amazing viewers are alive now who are watching this, because you're the one that is actually equipped and has the technology, the inner technology. You have the ability, you just don't know how to use it yet. You actually have the ability to totally transform all that dark stuff all the unloved stuff, all the hidden stuff, the buried stuff, the shame, the guilt, the anger, all of that pain can actually be transformed. And I absolutely know that that's why we're alive now, Charlie, is to totally transform that.
100%. And God never puts too much on our plate. Never has done, never will do. And both Tara and I have both visited dark places in our lives, not nice places, but it's how you handle them. It's how you deal with them. It's how you learn. And it all starts by loving yourself and appreciating the value of yourself and doing something good. You know, I'm 61 years old now, but when I was 23, I think I was 24, when I'd left the religious cult I was born and brought up in, I had a building company, and I picked up a young man who was hitchhiking, a guy called Max, he was homeless. He was living in a coal shed, and I took him at the age of 24. I was 24. That was the first person I helped in my life. I took him, I clothed him, I fed him, I watered him, I gave him a job. He came and worked for me. He now has his own building company, has a wife and 5 children. But when I met him, he was living in a coal shed. The reward for me as a person from the age of 24 started there. And if you want to feel self-worth, it's not just about throwing money at a poor man on the street. If you haven't got money, don't worry. Just sit down and talk to him and find out why he is where he is, and understand people. And that bit of sharing and caring will make you grow as a person. And it's so constructive. I've gained so much out of helping homeless people. And some of them, I'll tell you right now, some of them are a real mess. There's one lady at the homeless facility. She just stares at me when I go there. And I said to one of the guys, she just stares at me. He's gone, Charlie, she doesn't. She's taken so many drugs in her life. She's got absolutely no eyesight. She's completely blind, but she can sense you're there. And that changed my whole perspective on her. I thought she was just staring at me with no emotion in her face at all, but it wasn't. She had zero eyesight, zero, but she could sense I was there. And then I felt loved because her head was following me and she couldn't see me.
She could sense you.
Yeah, exactly right. She could sense me. So her spirit was still alive,
of course,
even though her eyesight had gone.
Of course. And that's so beautiful, isn't it? Because it's so easy to jump to a conclusion about somebody else without really understanding. And whether that's a conclusion about someone who's sitting on the street or somebody, you know, someone in your family.
Yeah.
It's so much more empowering and beautiful.
Yeah.
Do exactly like you said, just go and sit. Hello, I'm here. And just be with somebody and fully listen and see them in their eyes, see the spirit in their eyes, even if they're blind, to see that person who they truly are and who they're desperate for somebody else to just connect with them, their real self. I know that every single human being is hungry, starving, if you like. And this is why we hurt ourselves and do all these terrible things and make ourselves homeless. I've done it 3 times, Charlie. I've been homeless with my kids 3 times. And it wasn't crying or lack of, I just didn't know how to look after myself better. I mean, I love my kids more than anything, but I kept screwing up. I was trying to build eco villages and I didn't look after myself. I was trying to, I just kept messing it up. Thankfully, none of us are homeless and they're thriving and they're incredible young men now. But you know, it's like every single person needs for someone just to see who they really are. And that gives them permission to be who they really are. And then we can forgive all the other stuff. You know what I mean? What an incredible world would we be living in if we did that for one another and we did that for ourselves? That's instant evolution, isn't it? That's very fast transformation on this planet.
I always love what John Cleese used to say. And he used to say it tongue in cheek, but every single person on this planet was born a winner. Out of 1 million seamen, you were the one that survived. So you're born a winner to start with. So if it all goes wrong, it's actually your fault. You need to do something about it because you were born a winner. And it's all very easy to go, oh, woe is me. It's all terrible. Tara's had a tough time. I had a tough time. In my toughest time when I was 23, 24, I landed up in prison. I was all over the place. I was moving from what we call the third dimension to the fifth dimension. The fourth dimension is a horrible place to be. It's a horrible place to be. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who's telling the truth. And Tara and I can tell you from painful experience that you can only get through the fourth dimension when you connect with yourself. When you connect with who you are, and your moral compass is accurate, and you learn to trust your intuition, trust yourself. Not easy, not easy at all. We talk about it now because we've been through it as if it's easy. It's not. It's very, very hard to trust yourself. But the minute you start and make good decisions, then you can love yourself. When you start to love yourself, you'll start to love life. When you start to love life, everything else changes.
You make a difference.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, because a lot of people I know, we're living in the same world, Charlie, but they're really struggling, really suffering, terrified, like running around like deer in the headlights, not knowing what's going on, totally scared, really have abandoned themselves and abandoned their own senses and abandoned their own compass. They're just like dazzled and stressed by everything, and then completely manipulatable, like all over the place. And there's a lot of people in that position right now. And then there's other people that are going, well, actually, everything's beautiful, and I'm creating this thing, and I'm creating that thing, and I'm in peace, and I'm surrounded by beautiful people, and I'm not affected by all the same stuff that everyone else seems to be affected by. I'm just not affected by it. And how is that? Because we live on the same planet. You can have these different versions of reality depending on what your inner reality is. And it really is. It's like, you can't stress it enough. We understand we live in a quantum universe. We live in a quantum field. We live in a holographic reality. We know that everyone's reality is different. And yet we've all been given, like you say, we're all winners. We're all loved. We all come from Source or God or Mother Earth. All of the different, we all come from that one same place. Whatever breathes you breathes me, Charlie, and breathes everybody else. It's the same thing that breathes everyone equally. Whether you're a bad person that day or you're a good person that day, you're not judged. But we all judge ourselves, and what we carry inside, we then perceive out into the outer reality. And I really believe that that is why there is so much dark stuff coming up out of the ground, like literally what's been buried underground, like literally, as well as metaphorically, that has been buried underground. And I know you know what I'm talking about, and all your viewers should know what I'm talking about, right? Without saying it. We know that things have been hidden in dark, shady places a long time because we didn't really want to see it. We were naive. We didn't want to take responsibility. We didn't want to get into our power. We were behaving like little kids, really, in a way, going, it's not my job. Someone else will do it. The grown up will do it. Somebody else will fix it. Superman will come, or somebody will come, or, and it's like, hold on a minute. All of this stuff that has been hidden is now coming into plain sight. And that is because it's that time of revelation. You see what's in the darkness because somebody shone the light on it. Somebody was brave enough to go, I'm going to stop ignoring this. I'm going to shine the light on it. And that's why we're seeing it now. That's why all this stuff is coming up. So actually, it's a really good thing that all of this really heavy, dark stuff is now visible, because now we can see it. Now we can process what happens in us. We process our own fears. We process our own helplessness around that and our own victim mentality around that. And hopefully can clean that. That's why I keep talking about the cleaning, like process that, so that then what we're seeing is something that we can do, something incredibly empowering to transform it, not to kill it or fight it, because fighting just begets more fighting, and like it just keeps going. We're going to be stuck in the karmic wheel if we keep doing that. We've done it for millennia. It doesn't work. It's like actually to deal with what comes up inside of us and to take responsibility and say, this exists because I didn't take responsibility before, or my ancestors didn't take responsibility, and therefore now it's my job. And let's shine more light on it. Let's keep shining light on it, and then it's not dark anymore. And the more we shine light on it, the more we understand what's really at the crux of all that stuff we call darkness and evil. And we can integrate it and bring it back home, because exactly what we perceive outside of ourselves is a total reflection of what we have going on inside. And if we understood that, we could really transform everything quite quickly.
Yeah, we could. We could solve so much just with love. But the one thing, as we move out of darkness into light, the light exposes the darkness, and we will see things that we don't want to see.
No, it's hard.
It's very, very hard. There's some very, very horrific things that we'll see on the way out.
I agree.
As I said, the only benefit of the darkness is you're able to see the stars. But other than that, it's very, very dark out there, and there's a lot of stuff that I made the wrong decision where I wanted to know more about certain things, and I wish I hadn't, because you can't unsee these sort of things.
But you can heal yourself from the trauma that it causes you.
Yeah.
And that's what I think is the value in this, because the more you process, and like, I'm like you, I watched a whole bunch of stuff early last year, and I actually knew most of that because of the way I was brought up. So not much of it was new, but still seeing it all in one place with a few other things coming in, it was like, that it was impactful, it's full on, and it's still full on, right? However, what I did is kind of go, okay, where in me is freaking out about this?
Mm-hmm.
How does this make me feel? I feel weak, I feel helpless, I feel shamed, I feel scared, I feel, I want to do something and I can't. So I addressed that inside of myself, processed, healed myself, forgave myself that I couldn't do anything or felt helpless. I've been through abuse, I've been through all kinds of stuff. So I had to heal those wounds inside of me, because then I got stronger inside. And then I see it, and of course it's horrific, but I'm in a stronger position, and this is what I'm encouraging everybody else to do, is be in a stronger position, so you're not just freaking out and going, oh my God, that's awful, what am I going to do? I'm going to fight, I'm going to panic. You put yourself in a stronger position where you go, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to take responsibility that this is happening on my planet to other human beings, and I can do something effective and create powerful change. And I know that every single person has that ability.
Mm-hmm. They certainly do. And there's two types of criticism. There's either destructive criticism or constructive criticism. And I've never, ever minded constructive criticism. If it can help me grow, and it's constructive from people who love me, around me, say you need to do this, this, and this, then I'll take it. But if it's just sniping, then you leave that alone. Don't let it come in, because it can destroy your self-confidence. It can destroy the work that you do. You need to understand whether these people have your best interests at heart when they're making little snide comments or what have you, or whether they have your interests as a priority. And this takes time. It takes time, and you learn very, very little in life from success. You learn everything from failure.
Failure is the best teacher, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
And you're totally right. And what you said about people trolling as well, hurt people.
Yeah, they do. They do.
That's the nature of it. That's somebody hurting. They're actually just needing attention. They're actually just needing someone to say, hey guy, what's up with you?
Yeah, exactly. And people who are loved love people.
Exactly. It's so true. And then that's infectious, isn't it? Because it's like, that's an attractive energy. And if we're talking about law of attraction and manifestation, how do you attract good things into your life? Yeah. You be that magnetic energy of love.
Exactly.
Love is really wussy, fluffy, but that's just because they don't understand it. And even Albert Einstein, after all the research he did, and he wrote some letters to his daughter, private letters, and then they eventually found their way out and they were published and they're on the internet and you can look it up. But he says to his daughter in one of his letters that he's understood that the most powerful force in this whole known universe, because I think I know that there are other universes, but this known universe that we're in right now, right, that we know of, this known universe, everything is love, literally everything, whether it's the darkness or the light, it's all love. And the most powerful force in all of creation, everywhere in this universe, is love. Yep. But we have a mental idea of what love is, but love can't be understood with a mind. That's like, trying to make a machine understand a feeling. You can't. You can't. Love is a power. And you can realize it and you can begin to comprehend it, but you can never know it because it's infinite and it's supremely powerful. And yet we can know that in our heart. We can know that with our inner senses. The inner child knows how to, the inner child knows love, right? There's wisdom in that beautiful innocence inside, the innocence of the heart. And like Jesus said, you have to have, or the Bible says, to understand, to enter the kingdom of heaven, you need to have the heart of a child. And that power is not childish, and it's not superficial, and it's not a mental thing. It's something so powerful that will dissolve all boundaries, that can blend and unify all separation, can bring everyone together. Because it's what holds the entire universe together. And if we could begin to understand that and take it personally first, like understand here, and like you said, learn from the things that we think we've failed in, and actually learn from those things instead of where we didn't get it right, we become super powerful. And then what would happen if all of the people started to become super powerful and understood that power that we actually are? It just blows my mind. You can't even imagine what kind of world we could create. It's amazing. We have infinite potential, and it's time we used it.
It is very much so. And for those people who don't believe in God, that doesn't matter. Believe in yourself and you'll find God inside you.
Oh.
It's that simple. And it's got nothing to do with religion. It's to do with your spirit.
Exactly true. Yeah, because some people, like, God's got a bad name now in some
Exactly.
circles. Right, some circles are like, God, and other people are like, no, God's bad.
Exactly.
Take away the name.
Yeah.
Focus on the feeling.
Exactly.
That feeling, we give that feeling lots and lots of different names.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the thing is, whatever the feeling is, what we all have in common is that we all breathe.
Yeah.
And we can all feel. And we all feel because we breathe.
Yeah.
And that is something that can unify all of us. If we just come back to what's simple, what's very clear, what isn't a dogma, isn't a philosophy, isn't a religion, all that stuff's good. But get back to the real simple, make it simple. You've been in sales, Charlie. Keep it simple. What is it? Keep it simple, stupid. Right?
Exactly.
So that get it.
Exactly. And I used to train salespeople, and it's very interesting when salespeople stop selling, they change their pitch. And very often it's not their pitch that needs changing, it's their attitude that needs changing. Because you can actually have a dodgy pitch with a great attitude and you can sell. But if you have a bad attitude and a perfect pitch, nothing happens. Right. So it comes down to your attitude. And this all comes in together, that if your attitude is right and your spirit is right, then everything else takes care of itself.
Yeah, it's true. People buy passion and feeling, don't they?
Of course they do.
We want more of that. We want more of that passion. It's beautiful.
Because, I used to train people that selling is transferring your feelings. It's a transfer of feelings, getting people to think the way that you think. And you have to justify that through many different means. But
that's a beautiful way of putting that. I love that.
Transfer of feelings. Yeah. It's the opportunity is there for every single person, because I have no more value than anybody else out there. We all have the same value, and people say, oh, you're doing an amazing job. Yeah, I'm doing what I've been called to do, but don't put yourself down. Those people who are watching this, you're as, and I liken it to making a puzzle with 10,000 pieces, and you've got lots of pieces that are blue for the sky and lots of pieces that are blue for the sea. But if you get to the end and there's 9,999, there's one piece missing, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And you may be that piece that you think you have no value. You have a massive value when you're not there. I can assure you, massive value.
It's true. And I really do think that missing piece is self-love, Charlie, because humanity has tried just about everything for thousands and thousands of years. And it's like, what's the last place we've looked?
Right inside there.
In here, we've gone out there, we've gone to the moon, apparently.
Yeah.
We've gone everywhere. We've gone into everybody else's business. We've got all these different versions of, and it's like, well, how is that working out for us? We're still in deep shit. There's still no peace on this planet, and there's still no peace in the heart of most human beings on this planet. Something's very much missing. And I really, truly, I could say I know for a total fact that self-love is that missing piece, which makes the whole picture of you make sense. and then life makes sense.
I think the only moon we've been to was the one at the Moon pub down in Brighton.
The moon and stars in the lake.
Stars, exactly.
Quite nice in there, actually.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, Tara, it's been an absolute pleasure to catch up with you, and I'm sure we'll catch up again very soon, because
I love that.
as we move from darkness into light, people like you become very, very valuable to guide people from the darkness into the light. And I take my hat off to you. A young lady who died before she lived, who's been through an awful lot, been to a lot of dark places. So don't think for 1 minute she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's only when you visit the dark areas that you can understand that. And it's one thing to talk about things when you haven't been there, but when you've been there, Tara and I have been there in our lives, been to some pretty dodgy places in our lives. So we talk from a place of experience. So we can help you through and help you to learn to love yourself, because if I can love myself, anybody can.
That's the thing, isn't it, Charlie? And actually, and thank you for saying I'm young. I'm not actually that young. I'm heading towards 50.
You're still young compared to me, girl.
Behind you, darling. Anyway, what I was going to say, just if I may, just finally to wrap this up, because you talked about value and you've talked about the darkness and we talked about the light. And it's like, yeah, why do you and I have value to other people? Because we dug for it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, my partner, he actually went to Australia and he went out into the middle of nowhere, into all these harsh conditions, and he dug for gold through the dirt.
Yeah, exactly.
And he found gold, and it's amazing. It's beautiful. And we can do that. We have to do that in ourselves. We have to be a little bit Indiana Jones, you know, where we go through all of the dark tunnels and the snake infested pits and all of the things with the skulls and the crossbones, all those scary places. And we go into the darkness with our headlight on, you know, with that little ding, with our awareness on, consciousness switched on, heart switched on, courage. Okay, this is part of my mission. This is part of my purpose, is to go and find out my value, my true worth, my true self. And you go through all of the unloved areas, all of those abandoned tunnels, all of those dark areas, the cellars in yourself, and you go and you find your treasure. You go and find your gold, because the gold is hidden in the darkness. And the reason it's so valuable, the reason diamonds are so valuable and gold is so valuable, is because it's actually hard to get.
Hard to find, exactly.
You have to go on an adventure. You have to be Indiana Jones to go and get it. And we've all got that inner hero, and we can all go and find our gold in the darkness. And we get an incredibly wealthy, prosperous, wonderful world we can all live in.
Well, your partner was lucky, wasn't he? Because he knew what he was looking for, because he already had some at home.
Oh, bless. Yeah, he wanted to do it because he wanted to make me a ring, and bless him,
Exactly.
he never made me the ring, but he found the gold.
Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Great to catch up with you, Tara, and we'll catch up again very soon.
Thanks, Charlie. Hopefully see you again, and thank you for everything you do as well. So much love to you.
Thank you too. You're doing a great job. Much love.